Everyone is talking about MCP, Model Context Protocol, like it's the next revolution in AI. But is it actually practical for your business, or is it just another AI buzzword that sounds impressive but delivers nothing? Today, I want to just settle this debate once and for all. So I've dug into what MCP does, how it works, and whether it actually solves real business problems. So by the end of this video, you will know if MCP is worth your attention or if it's just another pointless distraction in a world of AI. The answer might surprise you. Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. The AI world is buzzing about MCP, Model Context Protocol, with some even calling it revolutionary. So today I just want to explain what MCP actually is and how it differs from what we had before. And I think most importantly, whether it's actually practical for real world applications like in your business, or if it's just another development that won't deliver. So let's dive into it. Alright, so let's first try to understand the problem. Current AI models like GPT-4 or Claude, they're really good at generating text and answering your questions, but they have a major limitation. They cannot actually do anything meaningful. They cannot do anything by themselves. So when you ask ChatGPT to send you an email, what will happen? It will just tell you that it cannot access your email, of course. Same is when you will ask it to add something to your calendar, for example. There is no standard connection to your calendar. It is the same problem. And that is because these large language models, these LLMs, they are fundamentally just prediction engines, right? They predict the text that should come next, like the next word in the sentence. That's what they do. That's what they predict. So they don't have a built-in ability to interact with other software, other systems. So you can solve this by building custom connections. Like you can see here, this LLM is connected to tool A, tool B, and tool C. And this is, for example, how Perplexity can search the web, right? And how some AI assistants can access specific applications and get a response from it. But there is a problem with this setup. Like each of these three connections in this case, they have to be custom built. And that is what makes them fragile. Because, for example, tool A changes their API on their side. That means you need to communicate with it in another way. It might be just like a really small detail that they changed, but that might already break this connection between LLM and tool A. And that might break your whole AI assistant actually. So that makes, especially making multiple tools working together, quite a complex process. And that is actually why we don't have our Jarvis AI assistant yet with all kinds of tools connected, because the connections between AI and the digital tools, they are just like too complex and too brittle. So this is where MCP, the Model Context Protocol, comes in. It is developed by Anthropic, which is the company behind Claude. And MCP is essentially a universal translator between AI models and the different tools that you want to connect, right? So think of it like this. Before MCP, connecting AI to tools was like dealing with a dozen different languages. Like each of these tools spoke its own language. And the AI had to learn each one separately. MCP actually creates a universal language that both the AI and all the tools can understand. And this is how it works. So there is an MCP client, right? So for example, that's your Claude interface where you ask a question. Then there's the MCP server. Between the client and the server, there's the MCP protocol. So that is the universal language that they speak. So in this case, MCP client will just have to speak one language with the MCP server. And each of these tools, which we call the services, like it could be a tool, it could be a database. Each of these services, they have their own MCP server, right? And the beauty of this is actually that all these tools, databases, whatever, like Gmail, Slack, your CRM, or some other databases, whatever, the responsibility of creating and maintaining these servers is actually with these services, with these tools, etc. So Gmail would have to maintain their own MCP server, and Salesforce would have to maintain their own MCP server, and so on. And that is actually a complete game changer for how we build AI systems. So why is MCP so much different from what we had before? So before MCP, connecting AI to tools required custom code for each of these integrations, right? And workarounds for any AI limitations, more complex error handling, and of course, constant maintenance when APIs changed. And with MCP, there's just one standard protocol for all these tools. And now the service providers, they handle the compatibility. And also with MCP, error handling is much easier and the connections with tools are much more stable. But the biggest difference is actually in stacking these tools in, for example, an AI assistant, right? So before MCP, making AI use multiple tools together was technically possible, but also quite fragile. MCP makes tool combinations actually much more reliable and more straightforward. So your AI assistant can now check your email, it can update your CRM, it can schedule a meeting, it can send a Slack notification, all through a standardized protocol that just works, right? And that is the difference between AI that can actually chat with you or it can work for you. So what does this actually mean for businesses and developers? So for businesses, there's obviously the faster implementation of AI automation, right? No need to do all these custom coded connections. And there's more reliable systems that break less often. Also, the complex multi-step workflows that were already possible, of course, but with all these custom connections, but they become easier to build, right? So this makes it also more practical to use within your business. And of course, there's less technical debt, less maintenance that you need to pay for. On the developer side, there's obviously less time writing all this glue code because now you just need to write in one language. There's more focus possible on user experience and business logic. And that is also what I think actually the AI and automation agency and devs, that's what the direction they will go into, because it becomes so much easier actually to build these multi-step workflows, for example, then they can actually spend more time on a great user experience and coming up with interesting business logic that can actually bring value to businesses. So besides that, there's also the ability to build more sophisticated AI assistants, of course, and there's less error handling, less maintenance overall, which is, well, both for businesses and for developers, a good thing, I guess. So now let me walk you through a real use case that shows how transformative MCP can be. So in this example, you can see a workflow that is about automated customer support for an e-commerce business. So without MCP, building this would become quite a technical challenge with a lot of weak links in it actually. Let me show you that with MCP, how it will work. So first the customer sends an email, right? And then AI analyzes this email. It gets it from the email MCP server. Next is that it looks up the order that is stated in the email. It does this through the CRM MCP server. Then it will check the shipping status because the customer is actually asking for where is my order. So the order seems to be delayed and AI wants to understand why is it delayed. So it checks the logistics MCP server. That one tells the AI that the shipment is delayed due to the weather, like there's some weather conditions or whatever. It can use actually all this information that it got to draft a personalized response, right? I mean, these are things, of course, that were always possible, but these connections are super stable and all in one language in the model context protocol. So what AI decides to do is it decides to give store credit. So it needs a store credit coupon. It will get it through the payment provider MCP. And what it will do next is it will add all this to the email and it will update the customer record in through the CRM MCP server, and then it will update the team about that this specific order from this customer, this email from this customer has been handled. So it does that through the Slack CPM server, and it sends the actual personalized email response with the store credit coupon to the customer through the email MCP server. And in this way, no manual intervention is needed actually. So all of this happens automatically within seconds without any human touching it. So before MCP, building this system would require some custom API integrations for each of these services. It would require constant maintenance when any of the API changes. There's more complex error handling between the services. So with MCP, this entire workflow can be set up with minimal custom code, and the connections between the AI and the tools are standardized, reliable, they are maintained by the service providers themselves, and that is like a huge benefit here. And this isn't just incremental improvement, it's a fundamentally different approach that makes AI automation practical and accessible for businesses of all kinds of sizes. So, is MCP practical or is it pointless? So after everything we have covered, the answer is quite clear. I think MCP is absolutely practical. But with an important side note. MCP itself is just a protocol, right? It's a standardized way for AI models to communicate with external tools. So by itself, it doesn't really do anything super magical, but what makes it practical and powerful is, I think, what it enables. It is a little bit like what HTTP was for the web. It's not exciting by itself, but it enabled the entire internet as we know it. So MCP has similar potential for AI agents. And is it overhyped? Well, maybe a little bit, but MCP won't solve all AI integration challenges overnight. So it's a bit early. Adoption will take time, right? And there will be growing pains, of course. But make no mistake, MCP represents a fundamental shift in how AI interacts with the digital world, right? And it addresses the exact problem that has been holding back truly useful AI agents and automations. So by standardizing these connections, it makes AI automation more accessible, reliable, powerful. So the businesses and developers who really understand and adopt MCP-powered automation in an early stage, they will have a significant advantage over those who dismiss it as pointless. The same with AI adoption in general, right? So yes, MCP is practical, not because of what it is, but because of what it enables. And it's the difference between AI that can talk about doing things and AI that can actually do things in the real world. So that's it for today's video. If you found this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about MCP. How would it be useful for your next project? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.